Hello, everybody. Sherry, Birgit, Petra. This is so exciting. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and what a time to be doing it. So I know some of you are new to this material, and so I want to make sure that I don't forget and just talk like you've been doing this, hearing this stuff forever. And I know some of you have been hearing this stuff forever, and so there will be something for everyone in this. And for those of you who really like the woo-woo stuff, you might hang on to the end because I might stay on a little bit. We'll talk about the Schumann resonance because, wow, big stuff going on. But technically, that's not why you called. Somebody says they can't hear me. Can the rest of you hear me? Okay, so Tammy, I think that's on you. See if you can figure that out. If not, lip reading, it's your chance to practice, okay? All right. So as everybody's signing on, and what a lovely group of people, may I say, because Sandra, I can't name everybody, we'll be here the whole time if I name everybody, but it really does my heart good to see you all here. So I'm going to talk about beliefs and money magic and the upcoming event in Australia, but I want to tell you a story about a time we went whitewater rafting, because I love to go whitewater rafting. I feel so alive. And so one of the things they do when you go whitewater rafting is they sit you down for the safety talk where they scare the bejesus out of you and tell you every possible way you could die on this 3-hour adventure. And so as they were giving us the talk, the guide started telling us this story about this one time they had a couple of different boats they were taking out. And there was one boat that was filled with a bunch of big athletic guys. And then they had a boat that was a bunch of Cub Scouts. So they were like 8, 9-year-old boys. Each boat can hold about 8 people, 6 to 8 people. And so at some point while they were out there, they decided to have a race between the big athletic guys and the Cub Scouts. Guess who won? It was not the big athletic guys. It was the Cub Scouts. And you know why? Because the Cub Scouts were all rowing together. Whereas the big guys, they were not coordinated. They were just like trying to beat the water into submission. And so this is the thing that I want you to know. To get the life you want, to have the experience you want, you don't need to be big and powerful. You don't have to beat anything into submission. What we need are your beliefs all rowing together. That's what it takes. The more of your beliefs that are aligned with what you want, the more that they are aligned with kind of the truth of you, then the easier it is, the faster you navigate, the easier it is to get to where you want to go. And I will tell you, we're in a really fascinating time in human history. You may have noticed it's all over the news, although the news is distorted, but it's an interesting time and there's a ton of cross currents. And the best way to navigate when there's a ton of cross currents is to be all rowing together. I promise you. So I want to talk a little about your beliefs, how they get formed, how they create your experience, and how changing those completely can change your life and your experience. Because this is what I've been doing now. Well, I've been working with people since 1995. I've been teaching since 1995. And I've been doing money magic since 2006. And it's taken me all over the world. So I've been doing it almost 20 years now. And the changes I've seen in the world and in the people who've taken it are extraordinary. And so I'm going to back up a little. I'm Michelle Masters. I often forget to say that, but just so you know, I didn't wander into Michelle Masters Zoom rooms. I am, in fact, Michelle Masters. And I've been teaching NLP and constellations for 25 years, 26, 27 years. It depends on what year we're in. So most people at this point, especially the people on this call, have probably heard that your beliefs affect your reality or create your reality. Okay, I'm not the first person to say that by any means. That's been around for a long time. But most people don't understand how beliefs are formed and therefore how you change them. Because I meet so many people who think, well, I will just decide to change my beliefs. And that decision is important. Let me not underplay that. That decision is important. But you can't change a belief by just deciding to change it, is the thing. So let me talk a little about how they're formed. Because when you decide you want to do something, that comes from your cerebral cortex, from your conscious mind. That's its main job, is to make decisions about what you want and what you're going to choose. But those parts of your brain are the last parts of your brain to be developed. In women, that part of your brain is not fully developed until somewhere between 20 and 25. And for men, somewhere between 25 and 30. And the old joke is, as my friend Carl says, for men, somewhere between 30 and death is actually when this all is finally in place. But the part of our mind that we think of as our mind, our conscious mind, is the last part of our brain to come fully online. Your beliefs, however, are most of them are in place by the age of 3 and pretty much all by 6. So your beliefs start out long before your conscious mind is in the game at all. In fact, it's pretty much not online at all when the first beliefs start. And beliefs start as association, as pure association. And it can start in the womb. It's like, I'm here, and it's like this. These things must be related. It's a very visceral thing. So when we're floating around in the womb, there is no cognition. There's just experience. We have a cat, Finnegan, and we have a heat stove. And when Finnegan was little, he was always wanting to jump on the stove when it was hot. And we would stop him and tell him no, and stop him and tell him no. And then one day we weren't paying attention, and he jumped up there when it was on. We never had to tell him again, because he had this visceral, oh, that's not good. And that one trial learning got wired in. Now, for kids in the womb or when they're little, if there's something intense going on, they can have a one trial learning. For instance, if a kid, let's say a kid's a month old and they cry, and someone has what seems to them a bad response, someone gets angry or frustrated. For them, it's a threat. I cried, there's a threat. I am completely vulnerable. Don't do that again. It's not a conscious thing. It's a very visceral, ooh. And so it can start in the womb even. There they are floating around the amniotic fluid, and one or both parents are freaked out. The organism doesn't understand, but it feels the freak out. It's like, I'm here, things are stressful. Ooh, must be related. Life must be stressful. Life must be dangerous. Maybe I'm in danger. Maybe I'm the problem. And so these very visceral experiences start even in the womb. And then a kid gets born and they have needs, because you may have noticed when kids come out, they can't do anything for themselves. The little loafers, right? And that's how it's designed. They're supposed to be cared for, but they are just a bundle of needs. And not everyone is prepared for that or able to deal with that, or even the people who are can get overwhelmed. And so if things don't go well, if the parents are stressed, if there's tension, if there's difficulty, even if it's not about the kid feels the difficulty, they don't have a part of their brain available that can say, you know what? My mother and father seem to be overwhelmed with life. They seem to have limitations in their self-expression and in their sense of worth and deserving. They seem to have limits on the abundance that flows to them. How sad. I hope they get that worked out. There is none of that available. It's like, oh my God, the God and goddess of my universe are freaked out. Things must be bad. And it's probably me. This is how it gets wired in. Because the part of the brain that can see that something is not about us really isn't available until 7 or 8 years old. And it's shaky at best even then. So kids take everything personal. Everything is about them, for better or worse. And mostly it's for worse. Oh my God, they're in pain. It must be me. Oh my God, they're sad. It must be me. Oh my God, they're frustrated and stressed. It must be me. So a whole lot of patterning gets laid down super early. Beliefs about how safe the world is, how safe we are, how loved we are, how worthy of love we are, how deserving we are, how much worth, how much we are worth. How much we are worth is in place by the age of 3. Now, almost no one, I defy you to show me a worthless 3-year-old, right? I mean, that's not a thing. You can't line up the 3-year-olds of the world and go, oh, that one's worthy. Yeah, that one, loser. Like, you can't do that with 3-year-olds. It's just not a thing. But by that age, they have pretty much decided what they are worth. And unlike your phone, your brain is not designed to update itself. In fact, it's designed to resist all updates. It's designed to try to stabilize the original operating program. Imagine, so if you're 40 and you have a cell phone right now, imagine trying to use a cell phone that had an operating system that was 37 years old. First off, the phone would look like a walkie-talkie. It wouldn't work with anything now. It wouldn't work with any of the technology now. And so most of us have beliefs that do not work with our lives now. Not all of them, but enough to make it much harder than it needs to be. And so some parts of us are reaching for more. Some parts of us can feel the possibilities, the opportunities out there. Some parts of us can see, oh my gosh, what if my life could be this? And then these old programs kick in of, no, not okay to want what you want, not okay to be selfish and want things for you, not safe to reach for what you want, not deserving. And then the system goes into all kinds. Okay, well, you got to work. If you want to be deserving, let's talk about worth and deserving for a minute. When we don't feel like we are worthy, then we do stuff to try to augment our worth. Okay, well, then I will work hard. I will suffer. I will sacrifice. I will serve others. We do all this kind of stuff that we think we have to do to be more deserving because we don't inherently feel deserving. And by the way, human beings are the only species on the planet that questions their worth. We have right now in the house, we have 2 dogs, 2 cats. None of them question their worth. When it's treat time, they are all good. They will eat as many treats as you give them, and they will take others' treats if they can. They are not riddled with self-doubt. Oh, have I been dog enough today? Do I deserve the chuvio? Oh, do I deserve the treats? No, not an issue for them. Well, maybe if I work hard at being a cat, I can have more treats. No, not a thing. We are the only species on this planet that questions our right to be here, that questions our right to thrive. And it's to our detriment. Because when we actually have a robust sense of our worth, it's not arrogance. A lot of people think that people who have a really full sense of their worth will be arrogant. No, arrogance is not a full sense of worth. Arrogance is a lack of worth that is inverted into a false sense of entitlement. Entitlement and arrogance have nothing to do with genuine worth. They are compensations for what feels like a lack of worth. When people have a real sense of worth, it is like the experience of being in love. If you've ever had the experience, I know not everybody has, but if you've ever been lucky enough to be in love, when you're in love, you feel good about the person you're in love with. You feel good about you. And in fact, everybody looks more beautiful. Everybody looks lit up. Everything is more wonderful. That's what the experience of really feeling your worth is like. Everything is more beautiful. Everyone is more beautiful. One of the greatest gifts to me in doing this work is that more and more I get to see people, especially in the workshops, because the energies are so big in the workshops. I get to see people kind of the way the universe sees them rather than the way they see themselves. And I tell you, every time it makes me cry. because you are so beautiful. And I know so few of you have that experience. I know day in, day out, I don't have that experience, but I get to see it. And I know it's the truth. It is the truth of every one of us. And the fact that we don't get to see it does nobody any good. And so the main things that keep people from having the life they want is old beliefs about safety, about whether or not it's safe, first off, to exist. You'd be amazed how many people it doesn't feel safe for them to exist, or like they have a right to be here. You'd be amazed how many people don't feel like they are lovable. And so if we don't feel lovable, it's hard for us to let the universe love us. And one of the ways the universe wants to love us is through abundance, is through money and thriving. So when people, the first thing in the way is usually safety, not feeling safe, and being adapted to surviving lack. This is a weird thing about human neurology. When we grow up surviving lack, when there's a lot of lack and stress, the old parts of our brain, the parts that stabilize our neurology, because we didn't die, and those parts are so old, they don't think or reason, they just respond. So if by the time we get to 6 years old, we didn't die, these really old parts of our brain that stabilize our beliefs think, okay, we lived through that and we didn't die. So that, whatever that it is we lived through, guaranteed 100% survivable. Anything else is iffy because it can't think or reason. The reasoning and thinking happens up here. Up here can think, oh, it could be so much better. I mean, this is, yeah, but this could be so much better. This part does not imagine. It knows that didn't kill us when we were young. So it will seek to keep recreating the limitations that we experienced in those first, especially 6 years, so that we don't die. So this is why people can put in all this effort to grow their business. And every time they make more money, all of a sudden a bill shows up, or then some of their business goes away, or some other area of their life blows up. Because either it doesn't feel survivable for life to be good to the old parts of their brain, or some part of them doesn't feel worthy and deserving of it. These are two of the biggest blocks: our safety patterning and our beliefs about how worthy and deserving we are. And then there's one more level. Some of you have heard me talk about ancestral and family loyalties. And this is probably the biggest block to everybody really thriving and surviving. When human beings have this huge drive to belong, it's astonishing. It's off the charts, our desire to belong. And for some reason, human beings they compute their belonging in terms of conformity. So when we are like the people we come from, we feel like we belong. When we are different, our belonging feels threatened. So on some level, when we have it better than the people we come from, we feel guilty and like we don't belong. And so often we will get whatever it is that we have that they didn't, we'll get it to go away, or we'll limit it, the love or the money or the health or the well-being, because it feels wrong for it to be so good when it was so hard for the people we came from. This is really primal wiring. It is the hardest thing I come across. So these three things, as all the years I've been doing it, these are the three things that are the biggest blocks: is the beliefs about safety, because most money beliefs are beliefs about either safety or worth and deserving. It starts out as just, if you don't feel safe as a child, quite often as an adult, you will get that lack of safety to show up financially. There are other ways they can do it, but lack of money is one of the big ways that our system continues to create a feeling of not safe. And if you didn't feel lovable or worthy or deserving, then that will often show up as, people who have a hard time asking for money. This is usually one of those worth and deserving things. And it's not a criticism. My God, it's the experience of being human, but what a shame. When you know you're worthy, when you know you're deserving, then when you know you're safe, then asking for money is not a big deal. And you're less attached to what the answer is because you know you're going to be okay. Let's try an experiment for a minute. Wherever you are in life, imagine for a moment that you grew up from like conception onward, feeling safe, absolutely safe. Just for a minute, imagine that. And with people who also felt safe. So you're safe and your extended family all safe. Imagine for a minute going through gestation and growing up. I'll be quiet for at least 30 seconds, but imagine growing up where you and your family completely safe. I just noticed by the time you got to the age you are now, what would be different in your life if you knew you were safe? It wasn't even a question. What would be different? What would you do differently or not do different, or, not do? Who would you be? What kind of people would you be with? Etc. Okay, that was experiment one. I know I'm probably going a little fast, but some of you it's way too slow for, and some of you it's way too fast for, and for some of you, Goldilocks style, it's just right. Now imagine you grew up. Yeah, and please do put in the comments because I can look later what that was like for you. Now imagine growing up feeling safe and loved, so safe and loved. You and your family, everybody, safe and loved from conception onward. By the time you get to be the age you are now, notice what's different. Then imagine if your community felt that way too. If others in the world felt that way too. How different would everything be? A whole new age, yeah. This is actually where we're heading. But so much of what we think is just, well, I'll have people say, well, this is just the way things are. Or somebody will tell me about there would be something dark or harsh, and people will say, well, that's just reality. It's like, no, that's a reality. It's a reality where there's fear and lack running. It is not the reality. I had a client actually say these words to me. He said to me about the future, he said, I know what's coming and it's not good. And I thought, well, that's an interesting statement to make because nobody knows what's coming. There is no one future that's coming. For one thing, there's not even one single present, right? Your present right now is not the same present as somebody else. There are people having wonderful presents right now and people having really difficult presents right now. There's no one present. There is no one future coming. You actually get to choose the future you want. And the future that you choose, when you choose from a place of feeling safe and loved, will be ever so much more magical. When we don't feel safe, when we don't feel loved, we make choices that complicate our lives. Is that a fair statement? Okay. I was doing a workshop last year with some people that have done a ton of work with me. They've done a lot of the money. They've done money magics. Most of them have done it many, many times, because every time you do it, you revise a whole nother level and you feel of beliefs, and you get safer and feeling more of your worth every time. And so the people in this workshop had done a lot of work with me, and they'd cleared up a lot of stuff. And the hotel staff, the front desk afterwards, when I went to kind of say, hey, we're done, they started talking about the people who'd come to the workshop. And they said, these people, and their faces lit up. And all these attendees had done it, say, hey, you know, where's this workshop? And in those moments, just the sheer energy of them, the beauty of them, because they were feeling so much safer, because they're feeling they're worth more, because they were stepping into these really magical lives, just them asking the front desk, where's the workshop being held? These people were lit up later telling me about it. You have no idea the effect each of you has on every single person you encounter. Sometimes people tell me they want to make a difference. No worries, you will make a difference. It is impossible for you to be on this planet and not make a difference. The question is, what will the difference be? And everything you do that makes your life safer and happier, that fills it with love and magic, affects every single person you encounter. And that's not wooey, new age wooey works. It's not wooey. That's a thing. That's a real thing. And so, like I said, at the end, I may talk about some of the changes that are happening even in the Earth's magnetic field right now, because it's not just us. The entire planet right now is going through a huge upgrade, and it's going through a major evolution and remodel. And if you have ever remodeled anything in your house, you know that from the moment you start the remodel till almost the moment you're done, it looks like utter chaos and you wish you'd never been born, right? And that's what we're seeing in the world right now, is what looks like a lot of chaos, and everything that is not in alignment with the new world we are creating is just getting flushed right to the surface to get revised. All the old fears and hurts and everything that has almost the biggest thing that the biggest problem we have anywhere is mostly fear. All the stuff around hoarding money, all the things people do that we call greed, is fear. It's fear of not having enough, whether it's not enough food, not enough control, not enough choice. Greed is run by fear. It's pure fear. And so everything we do that starts to take the wattage on the fear down is part of what's making this all happen, and part of what makes your life so much easier. You know, we went to Europe in the spring, and it was a little glitchy. I got to say, I'm not used to things being glitchy. All this work I've done, things usually flow really nicely. It was a little glitchy, and we had one of our flights canceled. And then I got home and realized how incredibly glitchy it could have been, but wasn't. There were, I think, at least three, if not four different airline strikes while we were in Europe. There were rail strikes, there were tube strikes, there were riots in France. The week before we got there were horrible crowds, which everybody complained about. While we were there, it was really nice. And then within days of us leaving, there was massive catastrophic flooding. So when there is a whole lot of cross currents going on, and there are a lot of cross currents going on right now as everything's shifting, the more in alignment you are, the less they will affect you. The less they will affect you. The more you're rowing, your oars are kind of all rowing together, and you're not going to get battered around in the way that people who have so much fear and stuff around worth and deserving will get battered around. So the change is coming. The question is, how beat up on the ride do you want to get? And I'd say there's limited rewards to getting kind of beat up on the ride. So if you've never been to a money magic workshop, because we're coming to Australia, and the first weekend in August, we're going to do an in-person money magic in Australia for the first time since 2019. That was the last time we were in Australia, before Australia said no thank you to the rest of the world for years. So we're coming to Australia and the Gold Coast to do a money magic, and we're doing the 2-day version live in person. And in the course of that, there is an experience in the room that is hard to replicate online, although online can be magical in ways I never dreamed. Before the pandemic, I would have said magic was not possible online. Now I know it is. But the experience in the room is an extra layer of really helping you to revise, because the frequencies and the presuppositions and the space that is part of the field of the work does a ton of work. So when I created this workshop, I should back up. And yes, we will be doing online money magic starting in September, but not going to Texas. Texas is just too darn hot for me. Sorry, Texas, love you. But we will be doing online. But when I designed money magic, I took a whole bunch of NLP techniques that were really good at changing those underlying belief structures, as well as some of those family loyalty structures, and even some of those old identity structures of not worthy. I took a whole bunch of different NLP techniques and applied them to the context of money. And then we took the first crew through. And then in the weeks and months afterwards, we got nice feedback about how things were shifting. That was all great. And then that was 2006. And in 2008, I went to a matrix energetics workshop with Richard Bartlett and Melissa Joy. And that's a quantum way of working, which I really enjoy doing. And so I added that in as well, these quantum fields and quantum ways of working. When I did that, people started getting changes before the workshop. Like they would register and get a huge check in the mail. I mean, it happened. I got an email this morning that somebody registered yesterday for this money magic workshop. And she said later that night, she said $8,700 hit her account. She has no idea. They have no idea where it came from. But they got almost $9,000 that just showed up in their account. Now I hear it may sound like, but I hear this all the time. Every time I do this workshop, I'll say, how many of you got extra money since you registered, or unexpected money? And usually about a third of the class raise their hands. And by the time we get to lunchtime, I'll have had a whole bunch more come up and say, oh, I just remembered this thing happened, and this thing happened, and this thing happened. So it's a thing. It's a real thing. I can't guarantee it, but it happens so often that at least a third to a half of the class notices that it happened. And when you do change really well, often people don't notice, by the way, because it doesn't feel like anything changed. But the single biggest change I often hear from people after money, well, two big changes that I hear after people take money magic is that their income went up and they didn't have to work harder. In fact, they often work less. And they'll say, I didn't do anything differently. And a lot of times they don't even notice at first that their income went up, because it feels like they weren't doing anything differently. And then it comes around to like tax time, and all of a sudden they realize that I've had people say my income tripled. I had no idea, because I didn't do anything differently. And I've had people say to me, oh, they must have done something differently. It's like, no, actually. Because the amount of money that comes to you right now is magical. It's just not the magic you might be wanting. But the fact you are creating the amount that comes now based on the beliefs that you have running. And they run outside of your conscious awareness, and they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So often people will talk about affirmations, and I don't mean to diss on affirmations, But the problem with affirmations is that's you consciously saying, I am abundant and wealthy. It's not a bad thing to say at all. And if it gives you a good feeling, I'm all for it. The thing is, the beliefs that are not abundant and wealthy, those beliefs are running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in your subconscious. They are automated. So you can say practice for 3 minutes a day in the mirror, I'm abundant and wealthy. And for 3 minutes, you have something else running other than the nonstop, I am not abundant or wealthy. But then eventually you have to have a latte, go have breakfast, I don't know, look at something on Instagram, which can then turn into hours. And your unconscious beliefs just keep running. However, when you shift those beliefs and what's running automatically is more in alignment with what you want, then it's like having a crew that works 24 hours a day for you for free. Because you don't have to pay your subconscious. It is like the world's greatest workforce when you get that stuff revised. And stuff can show up in the most miraculous ways. I never get tired of the stories of how stuff shows up. So at this point, if you're not having the life that you want, or if there's things you want that you don't yet have, or if you're feeling not as safe as you want to feel, or not as worthy, or if you're just flat out tired of things being harder than they need to be, then it can be so much easier. Because the second thing I was going to tell you that people tell me after the workshop is they feel so much lighter. I hear that all the time. They feel so much lighter. They didn't even realize how much it was wearing on them physically and emotionally to be constantly fighting the currents of those beliefs. And that energy can be so much better spent. So if it sounds like magic, it does seem like magic, but really it's magic that you're creating strife right now. It's just not the kind of magic you want. So as long as your experience is going to be created by you, it might as well be something that feels a lot better. So when I designed the Money Magic Workshop, there are processes we go through to help people get clear on what they want, because that clarity is incredibly important. Once you are clear on what you want, what you really want, not what you think you have to do to get what you want. I'll have people say, well, I want 10 clients a week so that I can make this amount of money so that then I can relax. Well, what if you could actually just relax and have more money? Do you still want those amount of clients? Well, no, actually, I'd prefer to have 5 clients a week. Okay, well, why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? So it's important to get clear on what you really want. And then we start to do exercises that reveal the stuff that's in your way, the stuff that's keeping you from having that experience already, and start to revise it. You can't revise what you don't even know is there. So these work in combinations. There's stuff in there around revising childhood beliefs, which are still probably your beliefs, because like I said, your brain's not designed to update itself. It just keeps running those beliefs. And we do work around your sense of worth and deserving. We do processes. I shouldn't say work, because it's not, a lot of times when you, personal growth workshops kind of have this reputation of like, you have to eat your vegetables, of kind of like, oh, yeah, I got to do this work. It's actually much more fun than it sounds like. I will just tell you that. I won't promise it's a laugh fest, but it can be a lot more enjoyable than you realize. So we do stuff to revise beliefs around worth, around money, around what's possible for you, to get clear on what you want. And we also do some work around that ancestral loyalty piece, those family loyalty pieces, because that is so huge. We do other pieces of work to help get your subconscious more in alignment with what you want. So again, you can harness the phenomenal power of your subconscious. And depending on the group, sometimes we put in other stuff, depending on what the group needs, and put in some strategies so you can naturally, when stuff comes up that's in the way, you can naturally navigate much more easily towards what you want. So it's kind of a full 2 days. Afterwards, we usually end a little early on the second day and nobody complains, because it's a lot of work when you revise stuff in your brain. But the good news is, when you leave the workshop, I've had people say, okay, what do we do now? They expect me to give them a list of procedures they now have to follow. And I'll say, no, go home. You did the work here. This is not a thing where I'm going to give you a bunch of exercises you have to do later, or more to add to your daily to-do list of, okay, I got to get up, I got to meditate, I got to have my smoothie, do my Pilates. Like, I'm not giving you anything to add to that list, right? We do a bunch of work in these 2 days. We let it integrate and then let you kind of ride the wave of what happens next. And it's not a thing where we get you pumped up on adrenaline, because adrenaline wears off after a few days. It's a thing where we go find the stuff that's in the way and start revising stuff so that it can be different, so that your life can work so much better, right? I mean, I'm just not going to ever be a jump up on your chair kind of gal, right? But we don't need that to revise this stuff. That is not actually what revises your core beliefs. What revises your core beliefs is accessing the places where they are stored and rewiring your brain so that those places that were holding the old beliefs are now connected to the parts of your current brain that can make choices, that have more capabilities, that have more understanding, and that are clearer on what you want. So actually your brain gets new neural nets as a result, but they're neural nets that you get to choose. It's not brainwashing. It's a little bit of brain cleaning, but you get to do all the cleaning. It's all designed for what you want. We're doing a little Marie Kondo there with your beliefs. Is this belief bringing you joy? Yeah. Because if so, let's keep that one. Otherwise, you know what? Maybe time for something new. So that's what our money magic workshop is. Somebody said to me, I'm sure at this point you could do it in your sleep, right? It must be rote for you. I was like, oh no. Every single time is an incredible adventure. I get to be with people when they become more of who they are and get closer to the beauty of who they are. And that for me never gets old. It never gets old. So did I forget something, Money Magic crew? I wrote down a bunch of stuff which I never looked at. Did I forget something? They're going to drop a link in for you if you would like to join us in Australia. If you're not able to come to Australia and you want to do Money Magic, again, there will be online Money Magic in September. It's become a really lovely experience. The Zoom calls for online Money Magic are a real joy. I mean, we had somebody who has an app on her phone that tracks her mood. And she said the happiest day of the week used to be, I forget what day she said it was, but about 3 weeks into the online Money Magic, she said her happiest days of the week had shifted to the days that we had the Money Magic calls. So the live calls are just lovely. If it works for you, we would love to see you. If not, I did want to mention that this is a spectacular time. Yes, please come join us on the Gold Coast. I'm supposed to say that officially. I always forget. Please do come join us if it works for you. We'd love to have you there. If you can't make it in person but would be interested in live streaming, let us know that. We're considering it. Can't promise that yet. But this is a time like no other. And every bit of change that you put in now, it's like triple word score in Scrabble. You're getting extra change back for your dollar these days. because of the way that we are evolving. And so here I'm going to get a little woo-woo. If you're not into the woo-woo, let me just say most of the workshop is helping your neurons to make new friends based in good old-fashioned neurology and science. This next part, if you don't have to believe it, but my experience has been that the shift in planetary consciousness has been like this over the past 6 years. I was having a conversation, I was doing an interview with somebody in February of 2020, and I said, I do not understand what's happening. When I travel around, the shift in consciousness has been like this, the acceleration. And on the surface, everything looks the same. It was February 17th of 2020. I said, this is not sustainable. Something's got to give. And within 2 weeks, it was like, pandemic, everything shuts down. Not how I imagined it, but it turned out to be an amazing thing, whether it was intended or not. Everybody got a massive timeout. All previous momentum came to a stop. And if you know your physics, the law of inertia, a body in motion tends to stay in motion, a body at rest tends to stay at rest. When everything stopped, because it takes so much energy to overcome inertia and start things up, there was not enough energy to start up a lot of the old stuff that people just didn't want to do anymore. That people just didn't want to commute anymore, that wanted to be able to work from home. All kinds of things shifted and are still shifting. And since then, it's been, the last year has been just like, and so I was having this experience of noticing myself, even places in me that were still stuck, old stuff got flushed right up into my face. And then like a day later, I'd be giddy and cheerful. And 2 days ago, I thought I was actually maybe having a heart attack. I'm like, am I having a shortness of breath? And I said, indigestion, is my back out of alignment? What the heck is going on? That was 2 days ago. And then yesterday, I was walking through a parking lot, and I heard in my head, because I have a lot of help, or I'm cheerfully schizophrenic, but I think I have a lot of help. I heard in my head, we have something for you. And so I looked down on the ground thinking I'd see like a penny. It's one of those little nice things the universe winks that the universe gives to me. I looked down. I didn't see anything, but I got hit by a wave of something. And it hit me like a physical, like I stopped and I started to cry. I'm like, what the was that? And I went home because I went to buy a slice of pizza and cookies. And my partner said, what happened? And I'm like, I don't even know how to tell you what, I don't know. I was all shook up. And we were talking about it, and she said something about the Schumann resonance. So I went and looked it up, and the Schumann resonance is part of the Earth's magnetic, electromagnetic field. And there have been spikes recently in the lower frequency of the Earth's magnetic field. And yesterday there was a spike that was off the charts. And this is not just from people on Instagram. This is actually put out by CERN in Switzerland. They had this giant super collider and they monitor this stuff, and it kind of freaked their instruments out, and some stuff stopped working. And they had never seen spikes like that. They'd never had spikes like that of some of the lower frequencies spiking up. So the entire Earth is upcycling its frequencies. So if it's been a wild ride for you, yeah, it's happening right down at electromagnetic level for the planet body as well as for us. And it is flushing up everything that's old and contrary to the new frequencies. It's putting it right up there where we can see it. But this is a big deal. What is happening right now is such an evolutionary leap for us that we really don't have a context for it. Because in our recorded history, there is nothing that matches this. Nothing, not in our recorded history, maybe in, but not in our recorded history. So it's Terra Nova, it's new Earth, it is new territory. And everything that you do that starts to let go of the old patternings around fear and lack makes it that much fuller, that much smoother, and it'll make it a much easier ride for you, because this is where we're heading. But how the transition goes, you can make it a lot easier. You can be at the front of the wave, or you can be dragged along by the wave. Either way, the wave is a thing. But I have so much respect for everybody that is doing work to clear up those old beliefs, because it affects everyone you encounter. It makes it better for you and everyone, every single person that starts to let go of fear and doubts about their worth. So I don't want to keep you too long. But this is an amazing time, and I really appreciate that you took some time to be here with us today. We hope to see you at the Gold Coast, but wherever you are, whether you join us or not, I hope you will spend some time to think about what you would like your life to be like, if it could really be what you wanted it to be, if you could be really safe, if you could know you are loved, if you could know you are worthy. What magic would you want to create? Because that's the greatest gift you can give to the world, and it's good for you too. Yeah, making your life magical is a gift to everybody. So we'd love to see you for some more, to be part of that. And however you do it, I'm so glad for you, for all of you. So glad even that you paid attention to this. Tells me a lot about you. So thank you so much. Hope to see you, and take whatever you got from this. And I hope the rest of your day is more magical than you were expecting. Okay. All right. Anything else I need to tell them, team, before I say goodbye to these nice people? Okay. So much love to all of you. Go ye and create. Hope to see you soon. Okay. Ciao for now, everyone. Bye.